Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in the Bay Area, it's time for Bay Area Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Bay Area Business Radio, and this is going to be a good one. But before we get started, it's important to recognize our sponsor, Leah Davis Coaching, inspiring women of color to claim their wealth legacy. Today on Bay Area Business Radio, we have Dr. Rosché Brown, and she is the Doctor of Rethinking. Welcome, Dr. Rosché.
Hi, thank you.
Well, I'm excited to learn about what you're up to. What's it like being a Doctor of Rethinking?
Well, it's amazing, of course, being a Doctor of Rethinking. I help people to remix their thinking so they can have a new way of living and they're able to make money, manage money, and of course, multiply money. So I love being the Doctor of Rethinking.
So the rethinking that you're talking about is around people's relationship with money?
Yes, it is. I'm a psychologist. I've been a psychologist since 2006. But about 5 or 6 years ago, I really added the component of finances. So together, I consider it more of a financial psychologist because, managing your money is more about your mind than it is about really money.
Could you share a little bit about what that kind of moment that was the catalyst for this pivot in your practice?
Yes, definitely. So I actually was working with people for many years on their mindset about money. And I realized that a lot of people's mental health stress was money stress. And so it was coming up constantly within my therapy practice. And I was like, I need to learn a little bit more about that. And then I was looking at my own personal life and being a professional woman, having a doctorate degree, but nobody ever taught me about money. And I went billions of years in school and nobody had any financial classes to tell you how to really manage your money correctly. So I just did whatever my, parents did, which, sometimes is good or bad.
Now that's interesting that when you were learning, they were teaching you all about, I'm sure, the fundamentals of psychology and all the mind and all this stuff. But One of the biggest stressors is finance. And then there wasn't a lot of energy put towards kind of working through some of those issues.
You said not a lot. It was none.
None.
There was actually nothing, that was actually, geared towards that at all. There were no classes about starting businesses. And a lot of mental health professionals, want to go into private practice at one time. And there was nothing to even understand that component. And then, of course, your personal finances, there was nothing on that either.
And that's you as a therapist and the business of being a therapist. But then finances are one of the biggest stressors probably for the layperson as well.
Exactly. Yes. It was for most people. Everybody that I come across usually has never had any financial literacy and no understanding about what to do with their money. And they find themselves in kind of a bad negative pattern around mismanaging their money. And then as we get older, we don't want to tell anybody about it, so we feel really shamed and embarrassed that we're not doing well with our money, especially if we're, the people who make a lot of money. And then you're like, and I'm still mismanaging it, so you feel kind of ashamed of yourself. And so you don't share with anybody. So nobody ever helps you to interrupt your pattern.
So now, is that the interrupting of the pattern? Is that where the rethinking comes in? Is that what you're really talking about here is kind of disrupt this maybe negative pattern or spiral that you're on?
Yes. So, I'm super, relatable and personable and in a non-judgmental way. I love to talk to people about, how did they come up with this pattern of how they spend their money, models of money, people who are around you who taught you about money. And so I really kind of get into the, psychology area and really help people heal their wounds around money because money is a relationship like any other. And so we have to nurture it and place energy into it. So I actually really teach those skills around the mindset area so we can rethink, right? So some of the things that you do are probably not extremely bad. So we want to hold some of the areas of your thinking, but we want to also remix it a little bit, add a little bit new features to it. Maybe some of the way you were thinking in the past no longer serves you. So, now we need to figure out you're at a new level in your life. Let's have a new way of thinking.
And that works for people who maybe have a lot of money and for people who don't. Maybe if one of the reasons you don't have a lot of money is that you associate money with maybe evil or greediness or some negative connotations.
Yes, very true. I mean, a lot of people, like money is the root of all evils, people will say, and so we think that like having money, means like, maybe bad behavior, depending on like how we were introduced to money. And so sometimes I call it like being addicted to the struggle. It could be a mindset that you can actually find yourself just addicted to the level of just struggling constantly with things. And so I feel like that's a huge area that people, really don't pay attention to within their lives. They just stress about it constantly, living paycheck to paycheck. Or there's this person, Lynn Richardson, who says paycheck to Monday, where you get your paycheck on Friday and then you've spent it already, even before Monday.
And so once you kind of made this shift for yourself, you rethought maybe how your practice was going to go.
Yes.
Were you starting to see your clients have better results faster?
Yes, I did. I noticed that, once people, there's of course like the mindset area, but there's practical skills and steps that people have never learned. And so when I actually started to teach them those practical skills and steps, as well as, kind of uncovering some of the money wounds, I realized that people were alleviating their money stress, which ultimately alleviated their mental health stress as well. It was stuff that was coming up in couples. I mean, you may know, like, couples often see money differently, right? Maybe somebody wants to manage it well. The other one was very impulsive, or maybe they're both impulsive spenders, but just at different levels. So that it becomes a huge contention within couples and within relationships as well. So I was able to, help them see each other's, money understandings, and then come together to develop a better plan to move forward.
So when you first kind of had your eyes opened about this and you started going, you know what, maybe I'm going to adjust my practice to kind of represent more of this line of thinking and this rethinking, did you get any like kind of breadcrumbs or clues that, hey, you know what, maybe I am onto something? Can you share maybe some of the clues that you learned early on that said, hey, maybe I should lean into this?
Oh, definitely. In the very, very beginning, when it was coming up, I realized I was starting to ask people more about their financial goals, and and then start asking them more about, like, how long have they been attempting to get to this goal. And people would easily say like years and years. And a lot of people that were in my practice at the time were usually anywhere between like mid 30s to about mid 50s. And so they were all like, having years of like trying to get their credit together, trying to become a homeowner, and finding themselves constantly hitting a wall in that area. And so once I helped them, really understand what's going on with them, people got their credit scores up, which was amazing because they didn't even experience that was something that they could even do. People got what are called abundance funds. I call them abundance funds. Most people in the industry call it emergency funds, but I'm all about, let's not manifest emergencies in our lives. Let's be in abundance. If a car tire goes out and you have money, you don't feel like, oh my God, it's not, if it's one thing, it's another. You feel like I can manage it because I'm living in abundance. And so I started to see people have like abundance funds more, and then they were able to get to their long-term goals, which were home ownership for a lot of people.
Then did it expand into, okay, now I'm teaching them some financial management skills and
Right.
and finance and the stuff that maybe you weren't trained on, as you went through your career, but now it's these kind of elements become part of just how you're doing your practice now.
Yes. I mean, I learned, I went kind of in I still continue to grow in my skills in finances, but I became a life insurance agent, helping people around like protection and understanding life insurance, and even how ways to accumulate assets in that area. I also, from there, learned how to do stocks and invest in stocks. And so teach people how to go about investing. with the fact that I had already had a business, I started helping people to, learn more about business, how to market their business, how to make more money within their business, and ultimately increase their cash flow, even if they had a regular 9 to 5. But it was important for them to like really understand that they had, I call them price tags, like TAGS, which are talents, abilities, and gifts and strengths. Like we all have them. And so we need to go ahead and figure out ways to monetize them. So that was, I started to learn more skills about business and money. And so that I already had the mindset. I had years and years of learning that for people, but I definitely advanced my skills in the financial area.
So now when you go to market as the Doctor of Rethinking, are people now hiring you part just for being a financial coach or not really the psychology part, or are all these so intertwined that it doesn't really matter what they're kind of asking for? You're trying to solve a bigger problem for them and you're just tapping into different kind of tools in your tool belt.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, people, they know me as both. Right. So let me say they do know me as both. They know me as a psychologist. And so when people just have regular like mental health issues, they're experiencing depression, anxiety. I mean, for instance, as we look in 2020 was a heck of a year. Right. 2021 is like kind of like the big sister. But, it was a heck of a year. And I feel like for most people, I in like April, for example, after shelter in place, it was financial literacy month. So everybody knew to contact me about that, noticing that their 401ks were going down. They're like, what am I going to do? So people knew that I was like the financial, planner and help and advise in that way. But also May was Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I was on many people's podcast and speaking and virtually in different arenas, really just around mental health, because people were experiencing a lot of depression, of course, and a lot of anxiety because of, the unknown that we were in. So people find themselves kind of coming to me for both areas. They know that I'm going to attack all of it. So if you come to me for finances, we're going to go into your mind. We're going to visit some of your trauma, and then we're going to come back to the present. And if you come to me, on the therapy level, I'm going to still check to make sure that your finances are in order, because I know that could be a huge stressor.
So let's help our listeners maybe in each of those kind of areas. So from a mental health standpoint, what are some tips or suggestions you have for folks that maybe they can suffer less? Let's maybe call it that. And they don't maybe stress less or suffer less. Is there any kind of things they can be doing right now?
Definitely. So a lot of times, kind of stress feels like, anxiety, right? Where you'll feel like millions of thoughts are kind of like going in your head, bing, 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 not knowing what to think. And so I really, encourage people to practice like mindfulness, and meditation. And so a lot of people, it's really new to them and they're like, I don't know if I want to do this. But what I teach people is like, just do 5 deep breaths. Breathe in for the count of 4, hold it for the count of 4, and then breathe out. And then I often come across people who say, I don't have time for that. And I'm like, well, do it in the shower. It takes less than a minute for you to do that. But what it's doing is allowing you to be more presently focused, understand kind of what's going on in your body. And then also right after that, that breathing technique, I tell people to affirm what they're looking for. Ultimately, we have the ability to command our day. And so say an affirmation of some sort, I am this, and even start to think of your day in a more positive way before you even attack your day. So that's something that I do tell people around anxiety. Journaling is extremely important. If you start journaling, you can get a cute journal, you can just get a notebook, and you actually just start writing down some of the things that are bothering you. And a lot of times we recognize that it's not a million thoughts. It's really 5 things that may be playing over in your head over and over again. But once you are able to recognize that it's only 5, now you're able to figure out a plan on how to manage these different areas, how to get support maybe through a mental health therapist, how to get support maybe from your spouse or from your friends, and you can kind of understand how to attack these areas one by one, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And then now let's talk a little bit about how to be become financially healthy. Are there any kind of low-hanging fruit people can work on to try to get their financial house in order?
Definitely. So main thing is that this is an area that people don't like to do or they attempt, but budgeting is important. And, simple thing like around budgeting to make sure that you do it is, understand your why, understand what motivates you. I'm big proponent about vision boards and even like manifestation. So think about what you want your life to have. In psychology, there's like this thing called the miracle question, which you actually take the time to say, like, if I didn't have these money struggles, what would my life look like? So you want to answer that for yourself and start to allow yourself to dream again about what is possible in your life. So that's kind of step number one. But then after that, you want to go ahead and develop a budget. Look at your money that's coming in, look at your money that's going out. And, decide, are you going to go through the deprivation model, which is cut back, and see what are the areas that you really don't need anymore? And then you can also practice the prosperity model, which is how can I increase cash flow? And it could be from simple things. You may decide to do Instacart, DoorDash, Uber, something like that. Or you can decide to maybe start your own business and, figure out there's some other skills and talents that you have that you need to figure out how to monetize. And then in that same process, you want to kind of, hold yourself accountable to make sure that you are always saving. I always tell people give at least 10% to yourself, more if you can. But usually when people are just getting started, 10% to self. I often say 10% to some type of donation, charity giving, only because I believe in the abundance principle. If you're able to bless other people, then you're able to also be blessed as well. And then now also budget towards yourself. Get 10% to yourself, to have fun, to enjoy life, to buy that new purse, buy those shoes, maybe, add to a travel fund, and enjoy life and then live off of the 70%.
Now, for you, what's the most rewarding part of the job?
There's so many things. I mean, it could be something as simple as somebody saying, wow, I didn't even know that. And I'm so, you just opened up my mind, that was life changing. That can be good. I mean, it's even more exciting when people say, my credit score is up. I never thought that would ever happen. And then even more, I get more excited when people, tell me that they purchased a home, and they had been trying to get there for so many years and could not get there. So I would definitely say that, all areas are rewarding. I realize that I'm really big on just presenting information and just letting people know that, it's possible to change.
Now, what do you have we're now into February of 2021, but what's on your calendar coming up? Are there any events or projects you're working on?
Oh my goodness, there are millions of them. So right now, I actually just posted as we're in the beginning of February. The different ones that I have coming up. I'm talking about creating your own retirement. So teaching people who are business owners and entrepreneurs how to go about doing that. I have another one that is talking about the love method and how to go through the process of changing your thinking and your mood around money through the love process, which is LOVE. So I'm teaching people that. I have a presentation on that. I have some mental health therapists that I'm going to be speaking to this month as well. But I have like a lot of different programs, a Rethinking Money University, where we're actually going to be this month talking about budgeting and savings and how to develop that abundance fund.
And if somebody wants to learn more about what you got going on, is there a website?
Yes, you can go to mymindonmymoney.com. So you go on mymindonmymoney.com, and because we need to get our mind, on our money, and you actually will get a free case study video about how to manage your mood, mindset, and money through the love method. So that will already be given to you, and you can kind of check that out. If you feel like you want to learn more about what I'm talking about, you can jump on a calendar with me as well. It'll lead you to that opportunity.
Well, congratulations on all the success. You're doing important work, and we appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
All right, this is Lee Cantor. We will see you all next time on Bay Area Business Radio.